I'll just say now to reduce any stress, if you still have flowers, we're going to have a chance in a few minutes while we're singing bring flowers to the altar to come on down if they're still there, so not to worry. Good morning. Well, what a beautiful morning it is. I'm Jim Peters. My pronouns are he and him. I'm a member of the worship committee, and it is my pleasure to welcome one and all to this online and in-person service of the Unitarian Society of New Haven. We are especially glad to welcome newcomers to this space this morning. If you are new to USNH, please join us for refreshments after the service in the social hall. And if you have any questions, members of our connection team, and really any of us would love to engage with you. Thank you for being here this morning. Today is a special Sunday, our annual Flower Communion, which traditionally marks the end of our church year. We are so grateful to have the Arpeggios joining us to share their musical gifts with us this morning. A few announcements. Next Sunday, USNH will be closed. All are welcome to log on and experience the Unitarian Universalist General Assembly worship at 1:30 p.m. A link will be sent to you this week. After today's service, please join us in the social hall for pizza, celebrating the work you've done for UU the Vote, desserts in honor of our guest musicians, the Arpeggios, and a special sung blessing by the USNH choir. So please come. If you brought, and I just said this, if you have flowers, if you're just coming in now with flowers, not to worry, we'll have a chance to bring them to the altar when we sing in a few minutes. And please bring in items this week to donate to the USNH tag sale, which will be next Saturday, June 22nd, from 8:30 to 1. Please see your newsletter for the exact drop-off times. And of course, happy Father's Day. I'd like to remind us all also that even though we are transitioning into the summer worship season after this week, please know our need for ongoing financial support is ongoing. So if you're able, either by the link in your order of service or by meeting the ushers in the back after the service, please give as generously as you can, knowing that in whatever amount, your support is deeply and sincerely appreciated. Friends, we aspire to be a community of caring, and in that spirit, each week we take time to note the shared joys and sorrows within our congregation. We do this in the belief that good times are enhanced and sorrows eased when we bear them in community. We have several to share. On June 18th, Tom Harden will celebrate his 80th birthday. If you're watching Tom, here's to you. Cards and other outreach to him are welcomed. Holly or Molly Hast wrote in the book last week that they lost their pet mouse cereal, and they are mourning that passing. Jane Hitchcock Platt reports that her brother, Tom Hitchcock, passed on May 24th at Dartmouth Hospital in New Hampshire. Their parents, Harry and Elizabeth Hitchcock, were among the founding members of USNH. And because I'm up here now, and this is the last service of the church year, I'd like to share the joy I've felt all year from the ministerial leadership offered by Reverend Stephen. With humor and care and mindfulness, he has brought so much to our pulpit. And while she isn't here now, our ministerial intern, Sunny Joy McMillan, also brought great joy and great thoughtfulness to our community this year. For these and all the joys and sorrows we are holding privately within ourselves, we offer a moment of silent reflection.
Good morning. Thank you, Jim, for those lovely words. It has been an interesting and joyful year, and I'll have more to say about that later. Our call to worship this morning, as we light our chalice, is from the Unitarian poet and novelist May Sarton. Help us to always be hopeful spirits and gardeners who know that without darkness, nothing comes to birth, as without light, nothing comes to flower. It is in that spirit that we have lit our chalice, and now we will, in a sense, bless this marvelous living bouquet before us, and you yourselves as a congregation gather each Sunday as a living bouquet of the Spirit. And there is a tradition here where we sing a song, and I invite you to, the harpeggios will be leading us. Please rise, and the words are in your order of service. Bring flowers to our altar to show nature's beauty.
And if you still have a flower to bring it forward at this time.
As many of you know, our USNH mission statement is this: we are a diverse, multi-generational faith community that inspires lives of compassion and generosity, nurtures spiritual growth, cultivates transformative connections, and creates a more just world. The first assertion in that statement is that we are diverse, and that is certainly true. We are theists and humanists, introverts and extroverts, vegans, omnivores, you name it, and we'll line up along a spectrum instead of all of us in one location. That's us, all over the place in our magnificent, complicated, essential diversity. For me, that's why our covenant is so central to our lives and community. We are diverse, but we hold to some basic principles that bind us together, keep us talking and debating, and hopefully evolving and growing. Covenant keeps this space safe and thriving. And so, friends, please join me now in reciting the words that appear in your order of service or in the chat on the live stream. We covenant together to create and nurture a culture of respect and kindness and to engage in the spiritual and everyday practice of loving more generously. To this end, we will strive to be open, value differences, listen deeply, use kind language, speak our truths, work with conflict, seek humor and joy.
Friends, you have created an amazing, beautiful, brilliant bouquet up here. To Unitarian Universalists, to Norbert Čapek, who first conceived of the flower communion so many years ago, these flowers can mean many, many things. They can symbolize many, many things. They can symbolize beauty, joy, hope. They can symbolize togetherness. They can symbolize diversity. Oftentimes, though, I think back to Norbert Čapek himself and how many of the flower communions that he celebrated were in captivity, in a Nazi concentration camp, and how there was a flower communion that was once held with tiny little shrubs, flowers, nubs of flowers that were found around the yard where he and his fellow captives. I think about how many of us find ourselves in times that can be described as dark times. How many of us live our lives in times of darkness. And I think to myself, with all the beauty of these daytime flowers and this daytime ritual, my mind wanders to the flowers that bloom in darkness. Believe it or not, there are a few of them. One such flower that I had a chance to see many, many years ago in the Sonoran Desert just south of Phoenix, Arizona, is called Queen of the Night. And it blooms precisely one night each year. One of the reasons I bring the image of the queen of the night flower into this space today is because through some miracle of biochemistry, most of the queen of the night cacti somehow find a way to all bloom on the same night each year. And it's not the same day year after year, so they're not marking their calendars. One of the reasons they do this is because they are almost exclusively pollinated by the hawk moth, which can sense the smell of the queen of the night blossom from literally miles away. And when a community of queen of the night cacti bloom in the dark hours one night each year, the hawk moths come flocking to them. So I ask you today, who or what are the flowers that bloom in the darkness of our lives? What is it that comes forward when we find ourselves feeling a little bit lonely, hopeless? When we find that the challenges of the world seem like a long night of the soul, something that maybe we don't even know if we will get through. I will tell you that when I had a chance to see the queen of the night blossoms, it was on a desert night, and I was actually camping southeast of Phoenix, and there had been a storm the night before. And the storm, we were camping on a mesa top, and the storm had actually blown 3 of our 4 tents off the top of the mesa. And we went to try to track them down after the storm had passed. And you will never believe what ended up reflecting moonlight and guiding us to find the tents that had blown off the mesa. It was the blooms of the queen of the night flower. They looked so brilliant in that desert night sky. So what or who are the flowers in your night sky? I'll lift up a few names. World Central Kitchen is a bloom in darkness. The Unitarian Universalist Service Committee, a bloom in dark times. Think to yourselves, what's your bloom that will get you through the dark times you may be in or may experience in the months to come? As you ponder that, let's listen to Koto.
Happy Father's Day to you, Jesse. It must be kind of nice to have your boy play like that. That's pretty amazing. And all the Harpegios, thank you for being here. It wouldn't be Father's Day without a little dad humor. And as I was looking at the order of service, I reflected, looking at Pachelbel's canon, the sad story of the circus owner whose head was down on his desk in absolute despair. And his assistant said, "What's the problem?" He says, "Well, the man who gets shot out of the cannon has just retired. And I don't know how we can replace him. How do you find a person of that caliber?" I'm just going to go home now. It's all right. Thank you. Let us be together in silence and in solidarity. To go quiet. This is the end of the church year, its regular services. Although after the break of next week, we gather again with our Pride service at the end of June. But it does mark something important. The conclusion of this 71st year, the gathering of this congregation and its life. For scents that herald summer, for lilac-haunted nooks, roses' fragrance, and the trickling brooks, for little things that give the soul wings, we offer our heart and thanks. For fiery fuchsia ribbons that stream across the sky, for sunsets and mornings dipped in dye, for mornings pale and day's finale, we offer our heart and thanks. For mountains carved of pearl, for clouds that shroud their heights, for pristine air like nectar and ghostly northern lights, for vales and secret dales, we open our heart in thanks. For diamond-studded velvet behind a silver moon, for the music of the night winds, a nightingale's sweet tune, for whispering trees and darkening peace, we give our heart and thanks. Help us always to be hopeful gardeners of the Spirit, who know that without darkness nothing comes to birth, as without light nothing comes to flower, so that we may be together and be touched by the sounds and scents and senses of the season we have been given. Let us be together in silence.
Good morning. I'm Jamie Ross. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. And I'd like to share a poem I wrote while commuting on the Metro North Railroad from the Spuyten Duyvil train station to New York City. It's called Defiance. The barbed wire fence lined the top of the rundown shack in a circular pattern. Spikes forked out furiously, expressing their angry intent should anyone dare to trespass beyond its spiny walls. The eye is tricked in seeing it as beauty aligned with the shore, as stony paths make way to watery ground. But there, as bold and defiant as anything could ever be, the tiny yellow finch perched its feet between the wiry mesh with its swords pointing to the heavens. And it sang with all the fury one might expect of one so bold. And heaven's gate opened its mighty doors in a ray of bright sun, bursting through pillowed clouds, as if to sing its own welcome song. Tears of joy ran down my cheek. I recognized the reminder of beauty in all I choose to see, and that it is mine.
All week long, I had a sense that the sermon I was writing was entitled, It's Always a Hopeful Time. And then I would ask myself, am I insane? Am I nuts? Is this just whistling past the graveyard? No, I don't think so. It's not naivete, not sentimentality, and it's not unrealism. In fact, I would submit that to say it is always a hopeful time is at the very core of our faith, of what it means to be Unitarian Universalist. Václav Havel, the Czech playwright, avant-garde writer, and improbable prime minister, wrote, "Hope is definitely not the same thing as optimism. It is not the conviction that something will turn out well. Hope is a state of mind, not of the world. Hope in this deep and powerful sense is not the same as joy, that things are going well, or willingness to invest in enterprises that are obviously headed for success, but rather an ability to work for something because it is good." Havel's words are so powerful and so true. And if we don't clutch them, hold on to them, sensitize ourselves to their intrinsic power, we do something really interesting. The people that have a different vision of our society, even of democracy itself, are counting on a couple of things. One is that you will get weary. You will get tired. You will get discouraged. Or worst of all, that you will be complacent. But it is always a hopeful time. It's not a perfect time. It's not my preferred time. It's time that we may not have willingly chosen or even fully comprehend, but it is our time. There's an old saying that for a congregation, a sense of mission is as fire is to fire. And our mission is to confront the times we are given with hope. There's no need for swaggering overconfidence. That's gone. But hope is so much more powerful than optimism because it is founded in a deep courage. A deep courage. Martin Luther King Jr., I think, kind of gave us a prescription of who we're supposed to be in this next season that is upon us. This hour in history needs a dedicated circle of transformed nonconformists. Our planet teeters on the brink of atomic annihilation. Dangerous passions of pride and hatred and selfishness are enthroned in our lives. Truth lies prostrate on the rugged hills of nameless Calvaries. And often souls do reverence before the false gods of nationalism and materialism. What we need, he said, is the creative maladjustment of a non-conforming minority. Except in the America in which we find ourselves, and I submit a world We are not a minority at all, and we cannot act like it. We must claim this deep courage. It is our spiritual heritage. It is everything that we gather to inspire, to nurture, to reinforce, and to hold up as a challenge, yes, but also as a deep comfort. I find it liberating to be a part of you. And I think it's important that we go out and find our allies, the people that look at the life the way we do, that it is in freedom and dignity that we find our essential truth. And therefore, hope is an active force. It is not a sentiment. It is not merely a state of mind. It is motivational. It changes things. Now, there are a lot of spiritual cliches. We're all familiar with them. Many of us probably grew up on them in other traditions. That God wills it, or God will make everything all right. God never puts something so heavy on your shoulders you cannot bear it. These are highly untrustworthy sentiments. But there is undeniably a power that we religious liberals, those of the free faith, may access and use, and I believe ultimately rely on, that is past all names and images and even potential faiths. This kind of hope surges past all previous religious images and models. It is, in the end, a trust. It is a liberating trust. And I hesitate to call this assertion religious, because I believe that history has shown us over and over again it's found in all faiths, beyond all faiths, and even where traditional faiths have been rejected and found wanting. This is a hope that is never naive, because it is not based upon things going our way. In fact, I would submit that this kind of deep courage hope only truly reveals itself and then reinforces itself in those difficult times and circumstances. The Unitarian minister, L.P. Jacks, wrote that a pessimist sees the difficulty in every opportunity, and the optimist, the opportunity in every difficulty. And I would submit that hope is the place that rises and transcends even that. It's a short message I want to give to you today because it doesn't need to be a long message. But it needs to be reinforced by community, by gathering, by listening, by being on the same team and working together, and being grateful that we have a place like this to come to, that we can then go out of and help change in small ways and in transformative ways this world. Lyndon Strachey wrote of Florence Nightingale, "It was not by gentle sweetness that order was brought out of chaos. It was by her strict method, by stern discipline, by rigid attention to detail, by ceaseless labor, by fixed determination of an indomitable will." Indomitable will. Yeah, when people are really hoping that we're going to be despairing, we're going to be weary, and we're going to just be outthought, outworked, and outmaneuvered, we will not be. And so we come back to flower communion. Because part of what brings us together is beauty. beauty of this music, the beauty of these flowers that represents who we wish to be, and the fact that at the end of this service, each of us will take a different flower than we brought in. The message will go out. So much lies within our hands. And so we return to our own tradition of Norbert Kipek. You can say that the flower communion is a lovely way to end the church year. Sweet. Lovely. But if you know its origins, it's a little more tough-minded than that. It was forged by indomitable will. Kipek was one of the most prominent Baptist ministers in his own Czechoslovakia, in Moravia, and Slovakia. He was a renowned Baptist minister until he came to America, and after 2 heresy trials, he decided, he and his wife, that they would become Unitarians. And at the age of 51, he joined the First Unitarian Society of Essex County. When he went back to Czechoslovakia, he would have services attended by more than 3,000 people in downtown Prague. And there were people outside that couldn't get in. And he wondered, what can I do to try to bring together such vast diversity? And he had an inspiration of the flower communion. On June 24th, 1923, he was invited, as the Nazis rolled into Czechoslovakia, to come to America, to be safe, to be a minister at large. His wife, Maya, came, and indeed was here when the war began. And Norbert Kipek and his young daughter, Zora, were held under close observation by the Gestapo. And by 1942, they were both arrested. Zora would live. She would survive the war. But her father would die at the age of 71 in Dachau prison. And in the last note that he gave Zora, the last words we have of him, this remarkably eloquent and visionary leader, he wrote the simple words, "I have lived amidst eternity. And so do we all." When you quote Havel, King, and Kipek, maybe we can be intimidated and say, my God, these are vast figures. They're stronger than I am. They're more courageous than I am. They're more visionary than I am. But I say to you, as we gather on this flower communion, 101 years from the invention of Kipek's vision of how a congregation may express both its diversity and its unity and its power, that this is precisely why we come here. This is why it matters to be transformative nonconformists. This year is ending. Another lies before us, perhaps one of the most important in our history. I hope you have a restorative and beautiful summer. I hope you gird your loins. I hope you get ready to come back here and add your voice and your vision and your hope to what we do here and what matters. Amen. And as we begin to play Scott Joplin, I do invite you to come forward and take a flower.
And friends, would you please rise in body or spirit? Let us sing together hymn number 305, De Colores. We'll sing all 3 verses, and then we'll try the verse in Spanish.
Go for it.
Yes, the colors of pennants and streamers and plumes, bandanas. All the colors, yes, the colors of people now taking their place in the sun. All the colors are bound for the whole world around, for everyone under the sun. Yes, the black and the white and the red and the brown, the yellow. All the colors of people who smile and shake hands, say hello. All the colors, yes, the colors of people who know that their freedom is won. All the colors are bound for the whole world around, for everyone under the sun. De colores se veían los campos en la primavera. De colores son los pajaros de vena de flora. De colores es sol adelante y para los grandes amores de muchos flores de gusto en mí.
I invite the choir to gather. They're going to be singing our benediction as we conclude this regular church year, and I invite Jim to come forward and extinguish the chalice as we say together the words found in your order service. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Please join us in the social hall for cupcakes, for pizza celebrating You the Vote, and for one final blessing sung by our choir, a parting blessing. Out in the social hall.